Okay, welcome to the ringLuck video. In this video I'm going to be explaining how the rings work in Katamari. Note that this is specifically for reroll. We haven't tested this on PS2, but it's likely that the stuff we're going to be talking about is not going to work on PS2, so just for reroll. So in Katamari there are 4 ring objects, which I have up on the screen right now: Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and Diamond Ring. And these don't matter in the any % speedrun, but in the complete collection speedrun we have to get all 4 of the rings. Now the problem with that is that the rings are the only objects in the game which have completely random spawns. So when you load one of the levels that has a ring on it, you'll get one of the 4 rings, but not the other 3. So you have to keep reloading levels until you get all 4 rings. As opposed to other random spawns in the game, the way most of them work is they just shuffle around the objects. So there'll be like a bunch of objects in a pool and they'll get shuffled. So they'll be in different locations, but all of the objects will still be there. So there's not a time where you have to like reload the level like you do with the rings to get the one that you need. So one of the rings, the Ruby ring, does actually have a guaranteed spawn. And that is on Megastar 3, so this is a screenshot of a section of Megastar 3, and underneath this red car here you can see, very small there, I have another screenshot where we're going to zoom in. You can see there are 2 ruby rings, and these are always going to be ruby. So you can always get ruby ring there, and you'll notice there's a red paintbrush next to it. It's in kind of an area where there are a bunch of paint cans and paintbrushes, so it's kind of implying that they painted those rings red, but that is how we get ruby rings. So that is the one that we don't have to worry about. So we're just worried about the other 3. So in the past, in the complete collection run, what we did was we would just reload Eternal 2 at the end of the run until we got the ring we needed. So there are 3 levels that have rings in them other than that guaranteed ruby ring spawn, and those are Megastar 2, Megastar 8, and Eternal 2. And Eternal 2 is kind of a copy of Megastar 8, but the difference is that there's no time limit. And since Eternal 2 there's no time limit, you can just quit out whenever you want, so that's an easy level to just go in and grab the ring at the start and then quit out. But it does take time. Sometimes if you get unlucky you can have to reload it a lot of times to get the ring you're looking for. So what we needed was a way to guarantee the ring that we wanted to get, and that is the strategy we're going to be talking about here. So let me head over to the game. Here we are in Katamari, and I'm playing on the practice mod, so some things will look a little bit different. Like for one thing, there's a debug display that I'm going to show some RNG stuff with. But everything will work the same in the base game, so everything I'm talking about here you can do in vanilla and it will still work. So yeah, the first thing I'll do I guess is just show the RNG display. So I have that up on screen right now. You can see the debug. There's a bunch of stuff here: stage ID, diameter, volume, etc. At the very bottom of the list you can see it says RNG. And then there are 3 numbers. The first number has a $sign in front of it, and then there's slashes, and then 2 other numbers. Now all 3 of these are different RNG values that the game uses. So the third one is the one that we're going to be interested in here, and the reason is the third one has to do with when objects change position or rotation. So for example, whenever it's like randomly determining where to place objects when loading the level, it's going to use that value, and every time it uses the value it increments. Now one of the other things that causes this value to increment is when you move the Katamari. So you can see as I'm moving here the value is going up, and then if I stop moving it's going to stop. There are a few other things that make this value change, but on most of the levels at the start of the level it's not going to change. It's mainly just when the level is loading new objects, so like when you get to a loading zone or when you start the level, it's going to increment that. And of course, one of the objects that it needs to load is, it's moving there because I'm holding the sticks in opposite directions. One of the things that is going to use that value is when it's determining which ring to spawn in the level. So one interesting thing about Katamari is that, and I guess a lot of games probably do this, but whenever you reset the game and then start it again, it's going to initialize the RNG values to the same thing every time. So if you've already been playing it for a while, then you won't really know what those values are going to be. But if you reset the game and then immediately load into a level, it's always going to be the same thing. So we are going to use that to our advantage, and I'm going to, hold on. Okay, I'm going to close the game here and then reopen it. And it's going to load in fast because, again, I'm using the practice mod. So we're going to come back, onto the world here, and then we're going to go into Megastar 2. So you'll recall that Megastar 2 was one of the levels that I mentioned has a ring spawn in it. And if we, I'll go show you where that is. If we close the game and reopen it, the starting RNG value is always going to give us the same ring spawn here. And it just so happens that on Megastar 2, that ring is Sapphire. So you come up on the table here, you go across this bridge, and there it is, Sapphire ring. And I'm not big enough to pick it up. You need to be 7 centimeters, 3 millimeters to pick up the ring, so you'll need to get a little bit bigger. But that is a way to get a guaranteed Sapphire ring. So that's one of the other rings down. So now we just need Emerald and Diamond. Now, alright, sorry about that. The dogs interrupted me. But I think they're gonna be good now. Okay, so like I was saying, that's a way to always get Sapphire Ring, and it is worth mentioning that this is faster on average than just reloading Eternal 2 until you get Sapphire Ring. I did some, I timed it, and playing Eternal 2 like all the way through and getting the ring and then quitting out is about 26 seconds. Whereas resetting the game, saving and resetting and then loading it again is 27 seconds. Now, you also have to factor in playing in Megastar 2, but since we have to play this level twice anyway, we can just do it the second time if we're still missing Sapphire Ring by then. So that doesn't lose any time. So it's 27 seconds versus, on average, about 105 seconds for getting it in Eternal 2, since it's a 25% chance for each ring to spawn. So on average, you'll have to play it 4 times. And the math was like, it took like 26.35 seconds, I think, to play it once. So it was like 105 to play it 4 times. So you're saving a significant chunk of time, like almost 80 seconds. On average, of course. So we haven't talked about that third RNG value really yet. We're going to do that now. So if we try to do the same thing where we reset the game and then play Eternal 2, we're going to get a Ruby ring. And like we said, Ruby is not useful for us because we get Ruby ring on Megastar 3 no matter what, so we can just get it there. But what we can do is we can take advantage of that third RNG value. So if we load Gemini here, you can see that third value is not moving. It's staying at 4. So when Gemini loaded, loading in the objects incremented that value. So now if we load Eternal 2, we're going to get a different ring than if we if we just reset the game and played Eternal 2. And the ring in Eternal 2 is down here. And you can see, since we played Gemini first and then quit out, we get Diamond Ring instead of Ruby, which is what we would normally get if we reset the game and played this level. So, because of the amount that that value increments when you load Gemini, we're guaranteed to get Diamond Ring there. So then the only ring left is Emerald. And the place we're gonna, or the level we're gonna load to get Emerald is Make a Star 2. Now, the important thing about this is that after you load the level, you can't move at all, because remember, if you move, then that value is going to increment, and then you're going to get a different ring. So you just want to load the level, and then quit out without moving, and then load Eternal 2. And then this is going to give us the last string we need, which is Emerald. So I'll head over to the ring and show you that. And this can be done with any level, obviously. Every level that you play before you play Eternal 2 is going to give you a different ring. We've chosen the rings that are the levels that are closest to where you spawn on the Earth. So like, Gemini here is the closest one that gives you Diamond, and then Megastar 2 is the closest one that gives you Eternal 2. Obviously 7 is the closest level, but I think 7 gives you Sapphire. I can check, we made a list. Yeah, 7 gives you Sapphire, so that one's not useful. Virgo gives you Ruby, Taurus gives you Sapphire, Moon gives you Ruby, etc. You could even load the same level multiple times, but that's an even bigger time loss. So the new strategy for 1438 is, if you're missing rings by the time you get to the ringLuck split, instead of just loading Eternal 2 over and over until you get the ring you want, you save the game, you quit out, you come back in, you load your file, and then you play either Gemini or Make a Star 2, and then load Eternal 2 to get the ring you need. Or if you need Sapphire, you just reset before you play 2 the second time. So that's it for this video explaining ringLuck. Before I stop though, I want to give a big shout out to Grass, aka Randomizer Hater 92. He's the one who made the practice mod, and he's been working a lot on like looking inside the decompiled code and figuring out like how everything works. So he was the one who figured out that the RNG is always the same when you reset the game, and he also theorized that we could use that to just spawn the ring that we wanted here. So he basically came up with this whole strategy, so big thank you to him, and for everything else he's done with the practice mod. And also shout out to Enzor, who is helping me test what rings you get when you load different levels. There he is. But yeah, that's it for the video, so thanks for watching. See you later.